Hello everyone, welcome. This is Roland. I'd like to make a message that could be of importance, that could help you. What you need to know is that the answers that you need are not out in the world. The only thing you can find in the world are facts, figures, formulas, opinions. You can find word knowledge, okay? Intellectual knowledge. But it's not living knowledge. See, originally Adam had a relationship with his father. It's from his father. See, he could have received everything. In fact, he lived in paradise. And all he had to do was do one simple thing. And that was not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. See, maybe this will help you. There's the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, and then there's the tree of eternal life. It's one or the other. But if you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then you forfeit the tree of eternal life. See? Now, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is what? Various forms of intellectual knowledge and knowing, whether it's street knowledge or school knowledge or college knowledge or book knowledge or internet knowledge. Now, there's some value to knowledge, there's no question about it. You need to know how to fix a tire or how to navigate from one side of town to the other, how to add numbers and so on, of course. But that's about as far as it goes. But when it comes to the important things, you need something more important. You need living knowledge. Knowledge made life. And it's experienced on a moment-to-moment basis. Okay? And that's what you need. And the only way you can have that knowledge is by yearning for it. That's all. Because it comes as a gift from God. See, God is very generous with. There was a story I read a couple of days ago about Brother Lawrence. I don't know if you've ever heard of Brother Lawrence. He's a famous, he wrote a book called to Practice the Presence of God. And Brother Lawrence said that his life changed one day one winter's day, he was walking and he saw a tree, and the tree was all dead, appeared to be dead, no leaves. But then he thought that it's waiting for the springtime. And in the spring, the warm light of the sun will bring it to life, and then it will bring forth a multitude of leaves and fruit and blossoms. Okay? Well, and then from that point on, and from that he realized God's greatness, his creativity, his generosity, his providence. He saw it all in a lightning flash. And you know something? I don't doubt that story. I really don't. Because when you are close to that inner light from God, everything around you reminds you of God and of his greatness, and everything, a butterfly. The way the sun shines on the water, the blue sky, the clouds, the laughter of children, everything reminds you. And even bad things, when you see bad people, see, then they remind you how nice good is in comparison to their bad. See, so it all works for good. But you can see one thing or hear one phrase, and And that phrase then awakens you to realize something very profound. And that's what it's like living in God's light. That's what it's like having living knowledge. It's knowledge made live. It comes to life. And things on the outside are merely only bear witness to the inner light and bear witness to God. Or they serve as a catalyst. That's all I can do. See, when I talk, about all I can do is to possibly have my words serve as a catalyst to awaken you. Okay? Now, so God is very takes care of everything. Everything is taken care of, okay, by laws and by His generosity. So He provides for everything in the universe, and He provides for humans. Now, what do we need? Well, of course, we need food, some food, and something to drink, and maybe a roof over our head, some clothing. That's what we need. But more than that, we need what? We need love, and we need purpose. Well, can you see how Adam, when he defected from God, it because he wanted to play God himself. He wanted to make his own purpose. He wanted to do his own will. He wanted to do, and then to have people look at him and say how wonderful he was and how clever he was. See? Well, so he defected from eternal life. See, eternal life. Christ once said, he said in his prayer to the Father, in John, I think John 17 or something or other, he said, this is eternal life, that they know you, the one true God, and that you sent me, or sent the Christ. See, that's eternal life. If you know, see, but to know doesn't mean intellectual knowledge. It means to know. It says in the Bible, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Have you heard that one? Or the beginning of wisdom. Not knowledge, the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Well, can you see how if someone knows that God exists and has a sense, okay, of His presence, can you see how that would be the most wonderful thing, and that would temper everything that you do and color everything you do? See, it would be very comforting to the soul, to the person who loves truth and loves what is right and loves justice and loves mercy and loves truth and all those things. To that soul, the presence of God, sensing the presence of God, would be a great comfort. But to those who don't like truth, who don't like God, who want to be God themselves, who want to lord it over other people and strut around and act like a big shot, eh? Well, for those people, they wouldn't like the presence of God, because in His light they would see themselves for what they are, nothing. But for those people, see, who love what is right and love God, love truth, they don't mind seeing that they're nothing. See, that's called humility, to know that you're a nothing. But so what? Why not be a nothing for a while? It'd be a great burden off of your shoulders, instead of always trying to have to make everything happen and figure everything out and please everybody. See, just be a nothing. And then God can take that nothing and make something of it, the way He can take dirt. He can take dirt and make a rose bush. with beautiful roses. And he could take a regular person, like a Moses, and make him into a Moses. So coming back to God is a very important thing. And maybe what I can say in this little video is that knowledge, see, the consumption of knowledge, immersing yourself in knowledge, it prevents you from finding God. It's that simple. Remember, there was the knowledge, there was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. See, not that knowledge is bad, but it must be tempered with understanding, and it must flow from understanding. See, if I have a realization, I see something outside makes me to realize something, and I realize it, and it's wordless. I just see it. See? And sometimes see very deeply. I see in a lightning flash. See, what could take someone 10 years to see, I see it. But then maybe I want to talk about it or write about it. So I put some words on a piece of paper or pick up the microphone and talk about it. And then the words, see, have a value. They describe, they try to awaken you to the same realization. That's their value. Or I can perhaps describe what it was that I saw, and then if you see it too as I say it, but how do you see it? You see it in the light, in God's light. See? But knowledge, remember, so you have the tree of knowledge without understanding, and then you have the tree of life, the tree of living knowledge, the tree of, living knowledge. And so, when you eat of the tree of life, of real life, see, like little children, when you see little children, the way they play, the way they run, how spontaneous they are, and every moment of the day is a moment of discovery, and of surprise, and of awe, and of delight. See? Well, they're alive. You look at people, see, as they become adults and older, they become rigid and bony and plastic, and the awe is gone. The wonder is gone. The life is gone. See, it's gone. But people are being degraded. See, that's the other thing. People are being degraded. So what you need is living knowledge. Knowledge made live. Okay? Which is an intimate relationship with the Father. Okay? And then you would be like a child. See, children, they're actually very close to God. But the kind of delight that He gives them is a delight in the things that He made. The butterflies, the trees, the flowers, the rocks, see, the grass, puppies, kittens, see, mommies, daddies, see, pretty things, shiny things, see. He gives them delight in that, and in running and jumping and climbing, and He gives them delight in such things. And then as we get older, then the awe, the wonder, the delight, see, then is when we know Him. In His light, we see His handiwork. In His light, we see beautiful principles. Okay, that we understand. Because He shows them to us. We see in His light. His light makes things alive. It makes you alive. See, it makes your knowledge alive. It makes every moment alive with realizations and insights and discoveries. See? But when you don't have that, then all you have is raw knowledge and memories in your animal brain. But they're dead. Remember, Christ said, the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. So what you need is the Spirit to illuminate, to highlight. See, I can pick up a book and look at the book, and I see one thing. One thing I see in that book. One thing. One phrase, maybe. And that's enough. Because there's something of value there. There's something meaningful that I'm meant to know and that's good for me to know. I wish I could think of an example right now, but, well, the Brother Lawrence story. I don't know how I stumbled on Brother Lawrence in some of my research, but I did, and I saw that, and it was meaningful to me. Because I can understand how a person can look at a tree and in a lightning flash realize a lot. Realize God's greatness, His providence, His generosity, His benevolence, His genius, His patience, His caretaking. You can realize all, you can just see it, okay, in one thing. And then that's enough. That's enough for the day. That's enough for a lifetime. Or that's, you see, but you see the problem with knowledge. Do you see how it's not satisfying? It's like drinking salt water. See, or eating some of these cheese puffs that they cleverly design out of chemicals. They cleverly design these cheese puff type things to be like hollow balls that are just nothing. You put them in your mouth and they melt into nothing. And so you're still hungry and you eat more and more and more. That's what they want. There's intense stimulation in it, but then it's gone and you're still hungry. And that's the way raw knowledge is. You ingest knowledge and study, and it's never satisfying. And you always want more and more. It's like an addiction. And it's never enough. And it never leads anywhere. Okay? So, I think I've made some points. I don't know if I've done a very good job of it, but I'm trying to get you to see the difference between dead knowledge and living knowledge. Knowledge made live. Something. See? So you need the Spirit. You need to refine that connection with your Creator. And to do that, well, first of all, you must welcome truth and yearn for it. And see, as long as we want to be prideful, then we run from truth. We excuse and justify what we did. We try to we sweep it under the carpet. See, we plan and scheme and try to make things work out. And then we try to hide our inadequacies. Try to build ourselves up in other people's eyes, and we use them. We use them thinking we're great, see, which they may think you're great, or they may see that you're not great, and they're just pretending to see you as great. We use that as a false something to build up our pride. But you see how nothing pride is when you withdraw. The support that it needs, it's an instant beggar. Have you ever been a bit too forward with someone, or told a joke that wasn't quite appropriate, and they just looked at you? See, without laughing or anything, they just looked at you, and you felt like you had egg all over your face. You were immediately stricken. See, or I can think of other examples, but I think you get the idea. Okay. So our house is built on cards, or Christ said on sand. A house built on sand will crumble. Or a house of cards, I'm sure you've heard that expression. But if your house is built upon living substance from God. So there has to be. So you see, so there has to be a detachment. You you can't immerse yourself in knowledge. Immerse yourself in sense knowledge and sensations and the lusts of the eye and of the flesh, and in studying and ingesting, see, book knowledge. You can't immerse yourself in that without somehow falling farther away from the tree of life. See, there's two alternatives there. Do you see that? So maybe this is helpful to you. You always thought of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but you never thought of it as being you got two things. You got the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and then there's the tree of life. It's either one or the other. See? And when you go for the one, then that precludes the other. See? So you have to find the tree of life. See? And partake of it. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to yearn for what is good and what is true. See? And when the truth is there, you have to be willing to admit it and not deny it and not duck it. See, that's what it starts with. And then in a sense, what does the beautiful verse say? Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Or there's a beautiful phrase in the Bible that to be in the bosom of God. So you immerse yourself in Him, so to speak. You stand back from everything else so that you are closer to Him and ready to receive from Him. See, it's detachment. The Buddhists talk about detachment, but it's not just detachment. There has to be an attachment. And so it begins with an inclination of the soul. Let's put it that way. Maybe this is the best thing I can say right now. And keep it all very simple. It begins with an inclination of the soul. And up to a certain point, humans incline toward the selfish. Incline toward wanting to know themselves as God. Incline toward the lie. See, the lie in all of its forms is very comforting. See? And we incline toward that, and toward distractions, and toward pleasure, and toward everything but sitting still, becoming still, and inclining toward the truth. But at a certain point, the soul inclines toward the truth. See? I'll give you an example. I've given this many times, but I'll give it again. There was a man who was taking his child to daycare, and when they got near to the daycare facility, the little child clung to his neck, just clung, didn't want to go, just clung to him. And he was a very nice man. Okay, I won't mention his name, but he's a very nice man. You would recognize his name. And he sensed that there must be something wrong. And so he swept his child into his arms, and they went home and never went back to that daycare again. Okay? And the child was at home with Mommy and Daddy. And then later, he found out, this man, that there was something awful happening at that daycare. Something terrible. But do you see that that was his moment of truth? See, he could incline toward what he knew in his heart, toward understanding. See, understanding is living knowledge. Understanding. It's such a beautiful thing. And it's intuitive. And it's wordless. And he inclined toward that. And then his daughter was safe. But what will most people do? You know what most people will do. They'll just tell the daughter, oh, it's okay, and they'll drag the child in there even though the child is screaming, and then the people at the daycare will say, oh, don't worry, they cry, but everything's fine, and believe the lies. and turn their back upon that moment of truth, turn their back upon intuition, upon understanding, turn away from it through some error, through not wanting to offend, through being selfish and wanting to get the child away so that they could go have their latte or text or go shopping or something, you see? Something. So it's very delicate. These moments, you see, there are not a lot of moments like that, thankfully. You don't always have this moment, see, where you choose one or the other, or you incline toward one knowing or another knowing. See, there's two ways of knowing. There are not a lot of moments like that, but there are some. And then which way you go makes all the difference in the world. Makes all the difference, like that poem. Was it Robert Frost? Two roads, and it's called The Road Less Taken. Remember that poem? And he said that I took the one road and it made all the difference. Well, that's the way life is. Now, God permits us to make errors. See, He's not only is He generous and bountiful with, He doesn't make one apple, He makes a million apples, a billion apples. Not one leaf, but on a tree, but a million leaves on the tree. See? So He makes a lot of stars, makes a lot of wonderful things. He makes a lot. He's very generous. Okay? Oh, I forgot the point I was going to make now. Oh dear, I totally forgot the point I was going to make. What was I talking about? I was talking about those moments in... Oh yes, I was going to say, not only is God generous with all of that, but He's also generous in His mercy and His kindness and His long-suffering. Okay? Very generous. And so He permits us to make mistakes. What was it somebody said? God permits us to make mistakes, but the devil forces us to do right. See? Well, God permits you mistakes, so there may be some choices, some of those paths along the way, and you take the wrong path. I'm sure you did. You took the tried and true path like everybody else. They said, make something of yourself, to ambitiously study and please the coach and please teacher and rise above other people and put other people down and become successful and powerful and famous and all that kind of stuff. We all go that route, don't we? Or go for the perks, or for security, or don't rock the boat. We go the wrong way. We go with the crowd. We go the way the crowd is going, most of us. Okay, so we make mistakes. And the more mistakes we make, see, then eventually it becomes harder and harder to admit you're wrong, doesn't it? But at a certain point, if you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then you say yes, when you quietly sense in your heart that you're wrong, okay, that you're resentful, that you're selfish, so when you sense it, and you quietly say yes. In other words, you believe the truth and doubt the lie. The lie says, oh, don't worry about it, everybody's doing it, you're okay, it's not your fault, it's their fault, blah, 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 see? But if you believe the truth, because you're inclined toward it, see, you can't believe it until you incline toward it. So when the soul inclines, that's the beginning. See, that's the beginning of salvation. It's a very delicate thing. And it's within. Nobody else knows. Okay? See, religion is a personal thing, isn't it? Between a soul and its maker.